Entitled Karen kept parking on my property. So I had her SUV towed, and she absolutely lost it. You ever meet someone who is just a walking headache? The kind of person who acts like the world is their personal sandbox, and everyone else is just a minor inconvenience in the way of their vision board. Yeah, that's my neighbor. Let's call her Karen. Because of course that's what her name should be. She moved into the house across the street about 7 months ago with her husband, Todd, who looks like a sentient oatmeal packet and has the spine of a wet sponge. When the moving truck first rolled in, I did the neighborly thing. Walked over, introduced myself, helped carry a couple of heavy boxes in. Karen didn't even look me in the eye, just pointed to the foyer and said, "Don't scratch the tile." Right then, I knew what kind of neighbor she was going to be. But oh boy, I didn't realize just how much of a Karen she truly was. At first, it was little things. Complaints about kids playing too loudly. Complaints about my grass being a little too long. It wasn't. Complaints about my wind chimes being aggressively whimsical. Who the hell gets offended by wind chimes? But her favorite activity, the thing that pushed me, and eventually the entire neighborhood, to the brink of madness, was her complete disregard for property lines. See, I have a long driveway. It curves slightly and is wide enough for 2 cars. It's on my private property. That is important. One Tuesday afternoon, I came home to find a sleek white BMW SUV sitting smack in the middle of my driveway. Not off to the side. Not temporarily idling. No, it was parked there. I double-checked the address like a confused NPC in a video game. My house number was right there. My mail. My doormat. My driveway. I walk across the street and knock on her door. She opens it wearing yoga pants, AirPods in, and holding a green smoothie. The look she gave me made me feel like I was the one intruding on her property. Me. "Hey, I think your car's in my driveway by mistake." Karen. Without removing her AirPods. "Oh, yeah, that's Todd's. He didn't want to park on the street. There's a bird that always poops on his car." Me. "Okay, well, it's my driveway." Karen. Smiling like I just told a joke. "You have plenty of room. Don't stress over it." I was too stunned to speak. I just kind of blinked at her as she closed the door and went back to whatever entitled nonsense she was doing. So I let it go? Once. Big mistake. Over the next 3 weeks, it became a pattern. Karen or Todd would park in my driveway whenever they felt like it. Sometimes it was while I was at work. Sometimes they'd block half of it. Once, I came home from a long day to find both their cars in my driveway, and Todd had the audacity to wave at me like we were sharing a beer at a barbecue. I knocked again. Me. I'm gonna say this as politely as I can. "Stop parking in my driveway." Karen. "Well, excuse me for thinking neighbors should help each other out." Me. "This isn't helping. This is trespassing." Karen. Laughs. "Are you serious? It's not like we're damaging anything. You're being dramatic." Okay, dramatic? I hadn't even started being dramatic yet. At that point, I wasn't just annoyed. I was insulted. My kindness was being used as a doormat. So I decided to escalate. Quietly, I went online and ordered 2 big red aluminum signs that said, "No parking. Private property. Violators will be towed at owner's expense." I mounted them on both sides of my driveway. Made sure they were visible from the road. And then I waited. 2 days later, 2 freaking days, Karen's shiny white SUV was back in its usual illegal spot, parked directly between both signs like she was daring me to do something. What Karen didn't know was that I had also installed a motion-triggered camera facing the driveway. I had time-stamped footage, clear images of her license plate, and a very thorough understanding of my state's private property and towing laws. So I made a call. Enter Dave the tow guy, a legend in our town who takes great pleasure in removing illegally parked vehicles. I greeted him with a smile. "Dave, this the Karen house." Me. "You've heard of her?" Dave. Grinning. "I've got her on speed dial." 20 minutes later, Dave was backing up his glorious tow truck into my driveway. It was a beautiful, sunny day. The kind of day where justice smells like diesel fuel and the screech of steel chains is music to your ears. He hooked up her SUV like a pro, took pictures, filled out the paperwork. As the back tires left the ground, I actually felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted from my soul. And then, the front door opened. Cue the banshee wail. "Karen, what are you doing to my car?" She came running out like a stampede of entitlement wrapped in Lululemon. "Karen, stop. Stop that truck. This is illegal." Dave. "No, ma'am. You're illegally parked." On private property. See the sign. Karen, I have a condition. I can't park far from my door. Me. Then maybe buy a house with a bigger driveway. She glared at me like I'd just spit in her smoothie. Karen, you're going to regret this. I'm calling the police. I'm calling my lawyer. This is unbelievable. Me. What's unbelievable is that you thought my driveway was public property. Dave drove off with her car, leaving Karen standing there shrieking on her phone and muttering threats under her breath. And me? I sat back on my porch with a cold beer and watched the show like it was primetime cable. Part of me knew this wasn't the end. Karen doesn't strike me as the kind of person to learn lessons. She strikes me as the kind of person who sues grocery stores for emotional distress because they were out of oat milk. And boy, I was right. Karen stood there in my driveway, fists clenched, lips trembling, mascara running like she just got kicked off a reality show. Karen, you'll regret this. I'm calling the police. This is harassment. This is war. I didn't even respond. I went back inside, poured a whiskey, and let her shriek echo across the cul-de-sac like a dying peacock. About 40 minutes later, I saw the flashing lights. 2 squad cars pull up in front of my house. I grabbed my folder. Yes, I had a Karen folder at this point, with printed photos, time-stamped screenshots from my camera, and copies of the relevant towing ordinance. The officers were polite. One of them, Officer Hernandez, had been called to this neighborhood before. He recognized me. Officer Hernandez. So, she says you stole her car. Me. Holding up folder. Actually, I had it legally towed from my property. She's been parking there without permission for weeks. He took the folder, glanced through it, nodded slowly. Officer Hernandez. Yeah, this is solid. You're well within your rights. Meanwhile, Karen came stomping out of her house, screaming before she even got to us. Karen, that's him. He's harassing me. He's targeting me because I'm a woman. He has cameras pointing at my house. Officer, ma'am, the camera is clearly facing his driveway. Karen, it makes me feel unsafe. Officer, feelings aren't law, ma'am. Oof. She tried to escalate by claiming I'd threatened her. Officer Hernandez asked her for evidence. She didn't have any, because it never happened. Then, get this, she actually tried to walk into my driveway again while we were standing there to prove a point. The officer stopped her. Officer, ma'am, you can't trespass just to make a point. She turned beet red, screamed fine, and stormed back inside. Officer Hernandez just gave me a look like, yeah, good luck with that one, and left. You'd think that would be the end of it. Nope. A few days later, I get an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside is a legal-looking letter on janky letterhead from a firm I've never heard of. It claimed Karen was suing me for emotional distress, lost wages, illegal towing, damage to community reputation. I nearly choked on my cereal. I sent the whole thing to my cousin, who is a real estate attorney and absolutely lives for this kind of nonsense. He looked up the law firm. It doesn't exist. Karen literally created a fake law firm letterhead and tried to scare me into apologizing or paying her money. My cousin drafted the nastiest, most professional cease and desist response I've ever seen. He ended it with this sentence. Any further attempts to harass or intimidate my client will result in a counter-lawsuit for defamation, malicious prosecution, and emotional damages supported by documented evidence and security footage. We sent it via certified mail. She signed for it. Then silence. For a day. But of course, this saga wasn't over. Because when fake law firms fail, what does an entitled Karen do? She invents a fake HOA. Yes, that happened. A week later, I get a community parking violation notice on my door from the North Park Estates Homeowners Parking Enforcement Committee. I nearly cried laughing. There is no HOA in our neighborhood. The letter accused me of aggressive behavior, non-compliant signage, and unauthorized enforcement of personal parking policies. It threatened escalating fines and even possible eviction from the community. I posted a picture of the letter in the neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "Did the HOA spontaneously generate this week, or is Karen having another episode?" The post exploded. Apparently, I wasn't the only target. She'd sent similar notices to at least 3 other neighbors, one for excessive leaf clutter and another for improper lawn furniture. Someone uploaded a screenshot showing Karen was using Microsoft Word's default header and forgot to remove the watermark. Cue the chaos. Dozens of neighbors started chiming in with stories. She had Reported a 10-year-old for running unsupervised. He was walking his dog. Tried to report a teen's lemonade stand as illegal food service. Complained to animal control that a corgi looked at her aggressively. By the end of the day, the admin of the Facebook group posted a poll. Should Karen be removed from this group for lying about an HOA? White heavy check mark yes, 97%. Cross mark no, 3%. Final result, Karen has been banned. Poetic. The cherry on top? A few days later, I saw a city inspector show up at her house. Turns out, someone, not me, but bless whoever it was, filed a complaint about her illegally altering drainage near the curb. Karma, baby. Since then, silence. Karen doesn't park in my driveway anymore. She doesn't wave. She doesn't speak. She walks quickly past my house like I'm an ancient witch who cursed her bloodline. And me? I got a custom-made sign for the end of my driveway. Big, bold red letters. Private property. Trespassers will be towed. Yes, Karen, this means you. It glows at night. I installed a second security camera too. Not because I need it. Because it makes her flinch every time the motion light goes on.